Have you ever thought about working and living in Australia? Hi, my name is Ollie from Visa Envoy, Australian Migration Agency. In this video, I'll explain the Australian skills in demand visa, Subclass 482. Let's start with the basics. The 482 visa allows you to work in Australia for your sponsoring employer for up to 4 years, or up to 5 years if you are a Hong Kong passport holder. Of course, you can include your family members and apply for the visa together. And if you meet the requirements, you also have the opportunity to apply for permanent residency after 2 years. This visa has 3 different streams: Core Skills Stream, Specialist Skills Stream, and Labor Agreement Stream. Each stream has its own occupation requirements or occupation list. So the first step is to identify which stream your occupation falls under and whether it's on the relevant list. The Core Skills Stream doesn't have an age requirement, but you do need to find an employer to sponsor you. To be eligible, your salary must meet the market rate and also not fall below the Core Skills income threshold. You'll also need at least 1 year of relevant work experience, along with appropriate qualifications. In most cases, a skills assessment and English test are required, with exemptions available in limited circumstances. Finally, you must meet health and character requirements. The Specialist Skills Stream is generally aimed at higher-skilled roles. To be eligible, your salary must meet the Specialist Skills income threshold, meaning a higher income level is required. The Labor Agreement Stream is a bit different. Essentially, it's based on a formal agreement between the Australian government and an employer, which allows that employer to sponsor certain occupations that may not be available under the standard lists. In most cases, you'll still need at least 12 months of relevant work experience within the past 5 years. The English requirements and whether a skills assessment is needed will depend on the specific labor agreement, as these can vary depending on the position and the industry. And like all visa applications, you'll still need to meet the health and character requirements. Now, let's look at the requirements from the employer's side. First, the employer must ensure that the applicant is paid at least the market salary rate for the position, and the salary cannot be lower than the minimum threshold of $73,150 per year, plus superannuation. Importantly, the pay must also be consistent with what an Australian worker would receive in the same role. Second, the employer is required to pay the Skilling Australians Fund levy, which typically ranges from $1,200 to $1,800 per year, depending on the size and revenue of the business. This is a mandatory cost and must be paid by the employer, not the applicant. Finally, for most positions, labor market testing is also required. This means the employer must advertise the role in Australia for at least 28 days and demonstrate that there are no suitable local candidates available before sponsoring a visa applicant. Now, from the employee's perspective, there are also some important restrictions and risks to be aware of. Under the 482 visa, you can only work for your sponsoring employer, except for some very limited exempted occupation. This means your employer essentially becomes your sole source of income while you hold this visa. Be careful. There is also a level of visa risk involved. If your employment ends for any reason, you will need to find a new sponsor within 180 days, or you may need to leave Australia. Now, more importantly, let's look at how you can transition to permanent residency after 482. In most cases, this is done through the 186 Visa Temporary Residence Transition Stream. You need to have worked in eligible sponsored employment for at least 2 years within the 3 years before applying. This means that your 482 visa sponsor must be willing to nominate you again to apply for the 186 visa. Just keep in mind, the 482 visa does not have an age limit. But once you move to the 186, you'll need to be under 45, unless you qualify for one of the exemptions listed here. If any of these situations apply to you, you really need a proper assessment and guidance. With a global team of MARA-registered experts, Visa Envoy supports visa applicants at every step of their journey. If this visa could be right for you, the next step is advice tailored to your situation. We're here to help. Book a consultation to get started.